Ladies and gentlemen, this speech is for the ones who feel lost in the noise of the world, for the ones who are giving everything to others and forgetting themselves. If you've ever felt stuck, tired, or like life is just passing you by, this is your reminder you are your most important project. And your healing, your growth, your peace, it all starts with the choice to work on yourself every single day. My name is MUNIBA Mazari and I am motivational speaker. If you like this content, then you can appreciate me by like, subscribe and comments. So now move on the topic. There's something incredibly terrifying and incredibly freeing about realizing that no one is coming to fix your life. That moment, when it finally sinks in, isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet. It's that stillness that creeps in at 2 a.m. when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this is all there is. And then it hits you, not in anger, not in fear, but in truth. If I want things to change, I have to be the one to do it. That realization can feel like a punch to the gut. Because we're taught, in subtle ways, to wait for something outside of ourselves. A job, a person, a sign from the universe. We wait for the right time, for the right mindset, for the perfect version of ourselves to arrive before we start living the life we know we're capable of. But the truth is, waiting is just another form of avoidance. We think it's patience, but it's fear wearing a mask. Taking responsibility for yourself doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's gone wrong. It means owning your part in your life story. The messy, complicated, beautiful parts. It means saying, yes, this is hard. Yes, I've been hurt. Yes, some things weren't fair. But I still get to choose who I become. We live in a world that often makes it easier to check out than check in. It's easier to scroll for hours than sit with your own thoughts. Easier to complain about a situation than change it. But numbing is not healing. Avoiding is not peace. If anything, it's postponing your power. You don't have to have it all figured out to take responsibility for your life. It starts in small, quiet choices. Like choosing to get out of bed even when your heart is heavy. Like choosing to breathe deeply when you want to scream. Like choosing to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Sometimes we confuse responsibility with control, but they're not the same. Control says, I need everything to go my way. Responsibility says, even if things fall apart, I trust myself to rebuild. There's a softness to that, a strength that doesn't roar, but holds steady in the storm. There will be people who don't understand your growth, who will guilt you for changing, who will ask why you're acting different. That's okay. You don't owe anyone the version of yourself that made them comfortable. You are not responsible for their feelings. You are responsible for your truth. Taking responsibility also means learning to love yourself in the process, not after you achieve something, not after you prove yourself, but right now, in the middle of the chaos, because that's when you need your own love the most. When you're tired, when you've made a mistake, when you feel like giving up, that's when responsibility becomes less about discipline and more about compassion. We think being hard on ourselves will push us to improve, but the truth is it only creates shame. Real growth comes when we speak to ourselves the way we'd speak to a hurting friend. When we say, I see you. I know it's hard, but I believe in you. That's the kind of responsibility that heals, that rebuilds, that transforms. And yes, there will be days when you slip, when you fall back into old habits, when your mind tells you it's too late. But even then, you still have a choice. To start again. To begin where you are, not where you think you should be. Responsibility doesn't mean you never fail. It means you keep showing up even when you do. This isn't about becoming some perfect, flawless version of yourself. That version doesn't exist. This is about becoming real, becoming honest. It's about finally stepping into your life instead of standing on the sidelines, hoping someone else will give you permission. You are your own responsibility. That isn't a burden, it's a gift. Because when you take that power back, when you stop handing your life over to circumstance or fear or the past, you begin to live on purpose. You begin to heal not because someone told you to, but because you chose to. And in that choice, everything starts to change. There's this quiet myth we all seem to carry deep inside us. The belief that we can't celebrate ourselves until we've made it. That we can't be proud until we've reached some invisible finish line. That unless we've checked every box, healed every wound, and become the ideal version of ourselves, our efforts don't count. But that's not how life works. That's not how growth works. And it's certainly not how healing works. Progress is messy. It doesn't come in straight lines or perfect timing. Some days it's waking up and brushing your teeth when your heart is heavy. Other days, it's setting a boundary, speaking your truth, or choosing not to react to something that used to break you. And sometimes progress looks like falling apart, crying it all out, and then deciding to try again tomorrow. We often mistake progress for perfection because we live in a world that only celebrates the end result. The before and after photos. The "I used to be broken but now I'm thriving" stories. No one tells you about the in-between. The days where you feel like you're doing everything right and still feel stuck. Or the moments when you take 2 steps forward and then stumble 5 steps back. But that's where real progress lies, in the effort, not in the outcome. There's nothing weak about growing slowly. There's nothing wrong with healing in layers, in cycles. We think we have to do everything all at once, fix everything immediately and look good while doing it. But the truth is, if you're still showing up for your life despite the chaos inside you, that's strength. That's bravery. That's progress. We hold ourselves to impossible standards sometimes, as if being human isn't already hard enough. We say things like, "I should be better by now," or "Why can't I just get it together?" But who told us that growth had a deadline? Who made us believe that becoming whole means never struggling again? The truth is, progress is about learning to be kind to yourself, even when you fall. It's about finding grace in the middle of the mess. You are allowed to be a work in progress, and still be proud of how far you've come. You are allowed to celebrate the small wins, the days you get out of bed, the meals you eat when you have no appetite, the moments you catch yourself before spiraling into self-doubt. These are not small things. These are signs that you are fighting, that you care, that you are growing in ways the world may never see. And it's okay if you still feel broken while getting better. Progress doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you struggle consciously. You fall, but you don't stay there. You cry, but you don't numb it away. You get triggered, but now you know how to breathe through it. That's growth. That's the quiet, sacred work of becoming. There's a freedom that comes when you stop chasing perfection and start honoring your process. When you stop asking, "Am I there yet?" and start asking, "Am I being honest with myself?" Because it's not about how quickly you heal. It's about how real you're willing to be. Perfection is a mask. Progress is a mirror. And you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love, of rest, of joy, of belonging. You just need to be willing to try. Sometimes we get caught in the trap of comparison, looking at someone else's journey and wondering why we're not there yet. But everyone is carrying something. Everyone is working through their own story. Your timeline is not supposed to match someone else's highlight reel. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to learn the next thing your soul came here to learn. So give yourself permission to grow slowly, to make mistakes, to revisit the same lesson again and again until it finally lands. Give yourself the gift of patience. The kind of patience you'd offer to a child learning to walk. You wouldn't scream at them for falling. You'd cheer them on for trying again. Offer that same love to yourself. And maybe the most important thing is this: even if no one else sees it, even if your progress doesn't look impressive on the outside, you know. You know how hard you've been trying. You know how far you've come. And that knowing, that's what makes it real. That's what makes it enough. We've romanticized healing in a way that's not real. We talk about healing like it's this neat, beautiful path filled with crystals, deep meditations, and quiet moments of clarity. We see images of people sitting peacefully on mountaintops or walking through forests with soft music in the background. And we start to believe that's what healing should look like. But most of the time it doesn't look like that at all. Most of the time healing is ugly. It's messy. It's exhausting. It doesn't feel like a transformation. It feels like survival. Healing is waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, and no idea why. It's sitting in silence, and suddenly remembering a version of yourself you wish you could erase. It's crying on the bathroom floor with no one around to witness it. It's saying, "I'm fine," when you're anything but. Healing is facing the parts of yourself you've tried to bury for years, and deciding again and again not to look away. And yet, somehow it's powerful. Not because it looks good, not because it's easy, but because every time you face your pain, you take your power back. Every time you choose to feel instead of run, you break the chains that kept you silent. Every time you tell the truth about what hurt you, you remind yourself that you're worth healing. We think of power as something loud, something that dominates a room. But real power is soft. It's quiet. It's found in the tiny decisions no one else sees. Like choosing to get up when everything in you wants to stay numb. Like choosing to breathe through the ache instead of pushing it away. Healing doesn't make you perfect. It doesn't erase the past. But it gives you something even more important. It gives you your life back. People don't always talk about what healing demands of you. It demands patience, not the kind you show to others, but the kind you learn to give yourself. It demands humility, because there's nothing more humbling than realizing how broken you feel inside. It demands courage, because it means facing things you wish you could forget. And it demands repetition, so much repetition. Because healing isn't a one-time breakthrough. It's doing the same hard thing over and over. Even when you're tired of it. You'll think you're done, and then something will trigger you, and you'll realize there's another layer to work through. That's not failure. That's how healing works. It's not a straight line, it's a spiral. And every time you go around, you're not going backward. You're going deeper. There's this quiet war that happens inside when you start healing, the war between who you were and who you're becoming. And it's okay if that transition feels disorienting. It's okay if you don't always know who you are in the process. That's what growth feels like. You're not meant to have all the answers while you're still bleeding. You're just meant to keep going. One of the hardest parts about healing is that it rarely comes with applause. No one throws you a party for finally standing up to the voice in your head. No one gives you a trophy for choosing not to self-destruct. But you'll start to notice something else. You'll start to feel more free. You'll start to show up more honestly. You'll begin to laugh without guilt. To rest without shame. To love without needing to perform. That's the power of healing. It quietly transforms your entire life. Sometimes we think we have to wait until we're fully healed to live. But healing is not the doorway to life. Living is part of healing. Choosing to engage with your life as it is. Not as you wish it was. That's how the real work happens. You don't have to be whole to begin. You just have to be willing. And maybe that's what's so beautiful about it. That even in the dark, even when nothing makes sense, you're still choosing yourself. You're still choosing to try. You're still choosing to believe that life is worth showing up for. That you are worth showing up for. That's not glamorous. But it's holy, it's sacred. And it's the most powerful thing you'll ever do. Peace isn't something that just happens to you. It's not something you stumble into one day when life finally gets easy or people start treating you better. Peace is something you have to fight for. And sometimes the fight is quiet. It looks like saying no when your body is begging for rest. It looks like walking away from conversations that leave your soul feeling smaller. It looks like choosing yourself in moments where the world expects you to perform, to people please, to sacrifice your sanity just to keep the peace. Ironically, by losing your own. The truth is, most of us were never taught how to protect our peace. We were taught to be kind, to be liked, to be selfless. But we were rarely taught that boundaries are not selfish. We weren't told that boundaries are a form of self-love. We weren't told that boundaries are what allow you to be generous without being drained. Loving without losing yourself, open without being walked over. There's this false idea floating around that to be a good person, you have to be endlessly available, endlessly forgiving, endlessly accommodating. But being good doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean swallowing your pain just to avoid conflict. And it definitely doesn't mean betraying your own needs to keep someone else comfortable. Boundaries are hard, let's not pretend they're not. Sometimes they feel like guilt. Like saying, I can't do this, even when your heart wants to help. Sometimes they feel like loneliness, especially when people don't understand them or push back against them. But boundaries are not walls. They're not about shutting people out. They're about deciding what you will and won't allow into your inner world. When you've spent most of your life overextending yourself, setting boundaries can feel unnatural. It can feel like loss. You might lose people who only loved you for your compliance. You might lose situations where you were once praised for being the one who never said no. But what you gain is so much more valuable: clarity, self-respect, and the kind of peace that doesn't come from pleasing others. It comes from finally honoring yourself. There's power in learning that you don't have to justify your no. That, I don't have the capacity for this, is a valid reason. That, this doesn't feel right to me is enough. Boundaries don't require permission from others. They're not requests. They're declarations of your worth. They're the way you teach the world how to treat you. And maybe that's what's so radical about it. That every time you set a boundary, you're quietly saying, I matter. Every time you speak up, every time you walk away, every time you refuse to shrink, you're healing the part of yourself that once believed you had to be everything to everyone. But here's the hardest part. Sometimes the person you most need boundaries from is yourself. The voice in your head that tells you to keep pushing even when you're falling apart. The part of you that says you have to earn rest, earn love, earn peace. You don't. You don't have to burn out to be enough. You don't have to prove your worth through exhaustion. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to say, this is my limit. And you deserve to have that limit respected, even if the only person who respects it is you. It takes courage to draw that line, to stop explaining, to stop apologizing. It takes strength to stay true to your needs when everything around you tells you to ignore them. But peace isn't found in pleasing people who don't understand your boundaries. Peace is found in honoring the quiet truth of what you need to stay whole. Boundaries are an act of hope. They say, I believe in a life where I don't have to break myself to belong. They say, I trust that the right people will understand, and that the wrong ones were never meant to stay. Boundaries protect your energy, your time, your heart, and most importantly, they protect your peace, which is the foundation for everything else that matters. You won't always get it right. There will be days when you bend too far, give too much, let someone cross a line you swore you'd never allow again. That's okay. Awareness is the first step. Returning to yourself is the second. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. And being honest sometimes means admitting when your boundaries have slipped, and then gently pulling them back in.